read you want to do?
So we have an audience of 8 or so more.
Little brother leaving the room.
Stephen and myself. Okay.
Without a doubt, the media has one of the largest voices in today's society. Popular news organizations seem to do nothing more than tear someone down and only share pieces of the story, not giving citizens the facts to discern their own opinions. The modern media chooses who they believe the victim should be, and certainly who they believe the perpetrator is. By refraining from fair news presentations, the news itself is becoming a distraction, and more often than not, the news is creating just as many stories as they are reporting them. The media should present pure facts, all parts of the argument, and allow the viewer to draw their own conclusions. There is a noticeable bias in today's media which affects all classes of people and influences their subconscious views on important social issues. The media should have an understanding as to what is morally correct to post and what is not. That is why the Society of Professional Journalists Code of Ethics states, "It is not a set of rules, rather a guide that encourages all who engage in journalism to take responsibility for the information they provide, regardless of the medium. The code should be read as a whole, and individual principles should not be taken out of context." Although the Code of Ethics cannot legally hold the media accountable for what they report, it is a professional code of conduct that journalists are expected to follow. It provides journalists with a sense of direction, a moral compass. According to the SBJ, reporters are to seek truth, minimize harm, act independently, be accountable, and transparent. By this definition, biased news reporting is not a true representation of what the media should be. According to the Code of Ethics, the media's highest and primary obligation of ethical journalism is to serve the public. Too often, however, the media presents their information through a political or personal stance, which clouds the audience's interpretation of what is truly happening. Americans feel as though they can trust what is being reported, and they should be able to. However, there are times where the media has blatantly lied to its audience. In 1998, up-and-coming author Stephen Glass wrote for the New Republic. His stories were informative and funny, almost too good to be true. It wasn't long before the newly launched online magazine Notice Forbes began to notice something awry about one of his articles, and when they began investigation, they found that not only was that article false, but 27 of his 41 articles were either entirely or partially falsified. Recently, there have been reports of Brian Williams exaggerating stories he experienced. It started with a report about his helicopter being shot at during coverage in Iraq, which led to further investigation of his other reportings. He was a nightly news reporter responsible for reporting the headlines, but instead he was found making them. Surprisingly enough, though, the issue is not that these reporters are lying. It is why they feel the need to lie. In today's 24/7 news cycle, there is an extreme pressure for news outlets to be the quickest and best in the market. While the constant pressure is not an excuse, it is the most pertinent reason as to why the media can ultimately be unreliable. Media bias is never felt more than during presidential election seasons. In a recent episode of The Factor with Bill O'Reilly, he and Rand Paul were discussing the media pool in the upcoming 2016 election. O'Reilly says, with the Republican nomination being wide open and a polarizing Hillary Clinton likely to represent the Democrats, this will be a very high-profile election. Obviously, the media will play a huge role, and unfortunately, the press has been corrupted in America by money, the internet, and ideology. Another instance of bias in the media during elections is the 2008 presidential primary with Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. A Saturday Night Live skit overtly demonstrated the media and its followers swooning over Obama. And later, in a 2008 MSNBC candidate debate, Brian Williams asked the first question to Clinton, and she quickly points out that she has continuously been given the first question, and refers to the SNL skit by saying, "Maybe we should ask Barack if he's comfortable and needs another pillow." The media had clearly been trying to make things harder on Clinton and make her appear less competent. The media is also guilty of selling stories. Instead of reporting the full story, many channels report what they think will attract the most viewers. Oftentimes, this leads to racial discrimination. News stations report these cases of white cop versus black citizen because they know it will garner attention. Yet if a white cop was brutally murdered by a black criminal, there are not thousands of reporters calling foul riots in the street. The media should simply report all facts of what happened in a case and leave the opinion of the matter up the viewer. According to Daniel Skinner in his article, Keep Your Government Hands Off My Medicare, he states, American political culture do significant and often surreptitious work. Although the media is very biased, we have to give them praise for being able to deliver information so quickly. People remember where they were when the news of the earthquake in the Indian Ocean that took the lives of over 230,000 people in an instant. Through their up-close coverage, they are able to articulate an extreme tragedy and tug on the hearts of caring Americans. They are able to gather volunteers and money almost instantaneously. However, it is no secret that the media is selling stories and selfishly profiting from these horrendous disasters. In an article, Rendering the Pain of Others, the media frenzy is obvious. Newsday reported that the tsunami images were in such demand that media outlets went to airports seeking videos from returning vacationers. Does America want a world where good, strong, moral people have no desire to hold an office or can't serve in law enforcement? Reporters have been telling stories and Americans keep listening, sitting glued to it like gum on a shoe. Staying tuned in and logged on, the media sources succeed. It is the responsibility of the media to tell a story, give the news, and provide entertainment. However, it seems like newspersons are twisting storylines and withholding information to sell their product. They are getting their job roles confused and making entertainment of the news. The media is the most powerful source to deliver public information, and people get the news, whether fact or sensationalized story, in a matter of minutes. Journalists have the power to influence and therefore control the thoughts of masses. Journalists should be held to the Society of Professional Journalists Code of Ethics. The freedom of the press does not excuse this extreme abuse of power.